Hecarim Sivir, excellent duo in terms of picks. We've seen EDG and other teams pick that lineup multiple times. The difference is the execution on the Hecarim Sivir was appalling. Specifically, the Hecarim was teleporting basically into melee range of the person you want to ult. Of course, the Jinx. You want to ult onto the Jinx, fear her, and then throw on the challenging smite and either take her out of a fight or kill her. She had the items to do that. He had the Trinity Force at a very good clip. But unfortunately, either the wards weren't down or the communication about how to pull off the strategy was poor, because it was never able to get on top of the Jinx, kind of had to fire on top of the Orianna. And then the Xiaohu was so on point with his defensive shockwaves, frequently wasn't the offensive shockwaves, but just defensive used around his own body, that Teo was free hitting, went 4 damage items against all the gap close of Kassan, of Hecarim, and just navigated the fight so smartly.
Yeah, looked wonderful in the second game, and the first one, honestly, for Gamtee as Royal. Now on the blue side, once again, possibly for the last time here in this series, Lulu, Kalista, Morgana are their 3 bans. Gamtee take away Vladimir, Cannon, and Urgot. And for me, for Royal, let's go back to basics. First pick LeBlanc for Korn, just go full comfort.
Well, they're going comfort. Korn hasn't had a lot of success on LeBlanc, but definitely is another one of the long line of top LeBlanc players. LeBlanc's place in the meta in 5.6 is kind of, I mean, it depends who you talk to. The one thing you can say is that if you're going to go for an assassin mid, the one that has the most pressure, has the shortest cooldowns, has short spell rotations, and can be impactful in long team fights is LeBlanc, both early game and scaling into late. Also forces Xiaohu onto a defensive champion. Maybe the Lissandra will be the choice to deal with LeBlanc in this situation. But they just need to keep down Xiaohu, because whether it was Orianna or in Game 1, he is so on top of Korn this series.
Well, and Gamtee prioritizing the Jinx so heavily in the series. We talked about the pick being important. They take Jinx, Nunu as their first 2 picks here, and I don't think Name is going to let Tail get away with it again. Something aggressive here. Lucian, maybe even his Varus might come back out. But for Royal, it's just go back to basics. Give your solo lane a safe lanes. Give Name something he can carry on. Give Zero something he can engage on, and go from there.
They need Lucian. This is the pick to take away, because Jinx, Nunu, and Lucian was the trio they ran in previous series. They definitely might look for double AD in this situation. Not necessarily ideal against the block, but has a bit of upside. You can theoretically win trades as Lucian against the LeBlanc, so they're not going to let that stay up. Again, they need to move to something that has an escape that Name's always shown so much prowess on. So the Lucian, it sounds weird as a takeaway when Jinx has been locked in by Gamtee, but Xiaohu's 2-0 on that champion, and I think it's a smart take.
I love this here from Royal. Just take, again, stick in comfort, but be intelligent in your drafting. Thresh Lucian, can't ask for much more from a Royal bottom lane. If they can't carry this game, Gamtee is going to look like one of the best looking upcoming teams, I guess, moving back into their LPL ascendance here. But Gamtee going to stick to what they know here. Again, they have to protect the Jinx. Makes a lot of sense to give protection to Tail. Lemmy's gotten Maokai twice in a row. A third time would seem absolutely wonderful for me as well. They've already locked it in. It seems like they're going to take Janna away as well.
Disengage and peel for Jinx in the 3 picks preceding the Jinx being picked here. The big question is, how do you fit a second threat into this Gamtee protect the Jinx comp that can actually lane against the LeBlanc? That's the big question mark, is what can they fit in? If it's Lissandra, you do have the downside of potentially a low damage comp coming through. It becomes very tail-centric. You know that every rotation for Starhorn Royal Club will be around this Jinx in particular. I love the Trundle lock-in here, Patience. We've seen a lot of Trundle, specifically in the promotion tournament, because the laning phase against Maokai, you just go for a lane swap, pick up the Tiamat, match farm with the Maokai, and in the late game, you just smash in his turrets, and Maokai can't do enough damage to get you off them.
Yeah, Trundle driving a Royal's last few picks, and if that doesn't scream aggression, I'm not sure what does. Insec going to be bloodthirsty here in this game, and again, Royal doing what they know, but Xiaohu going to go back to comfort as well. As you can see his analyst kind of shaking his shoulder saying, you got this, buddy, because he's on Azir.
I'm surprised to see Azir's got this deep into the champion select. When he came into the lineup around week 3, week 4, Xiaohu was Shurima only. Azir and Xerath were his 2 picks. Of course, Xerath kind of fallen out the meta in these late stages of the season, but Azir certainly way back into it, has been picked and banned in both the promotion and the playoff tournaments as a first pick. Didn't necessarily work out for Rookie too well yesterday, but still is a prized pick, and it fits this comp because consistent damage. It can deal with LeBlanc in lane, and another peel tool, the Emperor's Divide for this Jinx.
Great comps here for both teams. Trundle versus Maokai, they're in the top lane. Insec back on Jarvan against Huey's Nunu. Lots of potential pressure being applied there.
mean, Insect does take this Jarvan against a lot of matchups. We've seen a lot of Jarvan against Cassiopeia to lock down those overextended mages. Not as good, of course, against Azir, who has that native gap close and, of course, the flash available as well. But they're going to try and snowball around mid, you'd have to think, and ensure there's never a situation where if Tail hits enough items, they can't kill that backline damage.
Yeah, and Thresh versus Jonathan, the last one as well. You kind of go through the teams. You note that Royal always want to go forward and Gamtee want to move them back. There's going to be a lot of push and pull here in the game, but Royal, if they're going to take it, they're honestly going to have to play like Gamtee been in the last few games and take over the mid game.
And that's what Gamtee's big win condition is getting the hold of those objectives and fighting around them. They don't have a lot of engage, but damned if they don't have a lot of
Yeah,
peel.
we're going to get straight onto the Rift as well. And welcome onto the Rift here, Royal versus Gamtee. And again, our last possible game here in the best of 5. Gamtee currently up 2-0 right now in the series. But Royal, they've picked to try and take a fight here to Gamtee. Gamtee are back on confident. For me, Papa, Gamtee's comp is so good.
Gamtee's comp has a lot of synergy, but it doesn't do that well if you want to engage, if you want to force things. You need to have an advantage that the enemy team needs to contest if you want to pull off this comp base round. That's kind of the downside, is that engage-wise, they have no options. Going backwards, kiting backwards, they are massively strong. You have to respect the Emperor's Divide. You have to respect the locus of control that's opened up by putting down multiple Sand Soldiers and saying, okay, you want to walk over these, you know the massive damage you will take trying to get onto this Jinx. But again, if they have the objectives and force Starhorn Royal Club to fight, and of course Starhorn Royal Club, they have the likes of the Jarvan, they are looking for engage, then Gamtee are happy. If they are the team that has to engage, for example, if Starhorn Royal Club get 3-4 dragons, they have to contest for those objectives, then suddenly it's much harder to put this Gamtee lineup into good use. So it's on Starhorn Royal Club to get that same objective advantage that's been the hallmark of Gamtee's whole promotion series, but specifically the first 2 games of the night.
Yeah, but we do have a pause here as well, and you have to think Royal thinking through their strategy. They have a very clear plan, like you said. I don't know if they can adapt and play like Gamtee have been playing. That might be a big ask for a team that's honestly relied on the power of its star players and solo laners for so long. But if Royal want to get themselves back into the LPL or at least make the series competitive and take this game away, they're going to have to adapt quicker than IG did in their Vici series in their playoffs, because there is so much on the line already with Gamtee being up 2 games.
Look, if any team in the promotion tournament is going to bounce back in a best of 5 from being 2 down, it has to be Starhorn Royal Club. 4 out of these 5 members have Worlds Finals experience. Name, of course, has been to Worlds. It's such a seasoned team. These are no up-and-comers. These are no young bucks. These are teams, these are members that have been around the scene for so long. The likes of Insect, the likes of Name, been in so many competitive finals. Name already has one of the most impressive resumes of any player in the history of League of Legends. This has to be the time for them to shine, because if they lose here, I don't know if we'll ever see this 5-man lineup onto the Rift again.
Yeah, and again, the roster came together so late. It'd be such a shame to have a roster that was so cool on paper that barely got to play in the LPL season that they qualified for. Be interesting to see what happens to them if they do fall 3-0 to Gamtee, but Gamtee, it's all for them right now. They've got plenty of players. We do pop back out from our pause and onto the Rift here. There's going to be blood early here for Royal if they want to take it in Gamtee. If they can weather the storm one more time, they'll push themselves into the LPL at 3-0.
And look, factors conspired definitely to keep Starhorn Royal Club down this season. They had a very good start to the season without Name. They got those 3 series wins at the start of the season that honestly inflated their point score when you look back on it. Because if you take away those decisive 9 points, they only assembled 12 points, I believe, in the rest of the whole season. Those first 6 in the first week. Even with Name, their fortunes haven't improved. So despite all the stars coming together, this is definitely proof in the pudding that it doesn't matter how good a team is on paper. Starhorn Royal Club, they just haven't performed.
Yeah, it's time for Royal to put this into practice as they go into this 3rd game. They will get the lanes thereafter, as we can see standard lanes, I think for the first time in this series, actually. Xiaohui there in the mid, scouting things out on Azir, and I think for me, the matchup's actually here for Fenghui. If Fenghui can keep things under control on the Nunu, get his team to a spot where they can start getting control of objectives, he's the one that springs them into the strong mid games that they've been rewarded with so heavily so far in the series.
Look, Nunu and Jinx was the big duo that propelled EDG to that first game win over Invictus Gaming. Even if Nunu's held behind, there's just a point where you get, say, 180 item, maybe the Infinity Edge onto Tail, walk around with Blood Boil, and there's so many objectives you can pick up for free. Minigun and Blood Boil next to turrets. You get that rotational play that has been the hallmark of Gamtee down, then you're just going to be taking up objectives and ensuring that you're able to use this excellent defensive peeling back and kiting comp to its best advantages.
You can see people trying to get level 2 in the bottom side. Lucian Thresh have a great level 2, but Tail with a bit of extra experience had gotten already level 2, throwing rockets in there, zoning out the Royal bottom side. Zero goes in for a hook, just delivers a minion to Name instead, but pressure going down. Good dodge of the skill shot there, and again, the bottom lane, now that we're back in the 2v2, especially with Zero and Name playing these two champions together, they get a lot of action down here very early on.
And look, Name and Zero were honestly outfoxed by the fact that they gave exclusive experience from the Gromp to Tail. He was instantly level 2, now level 3 already. And just throwing on the shield and having that rocket form and the zap, those are untradeable, unsustainable trades for the Thresh Lucian lineup. So even though this wipe steal lane is so strong when even, they haven't been even since they entered lane.
What happened to Insect there? Getting a little low in his jungle, possibly going quite aggressive with the runes and masteries, but is safe for now. Hasn't quite taken away his red buff, but
you obviously haven't cast too much of Jarvan post that armor being reduced.
True.
There are ways to navigate falling super low in the jungle. You can maybe look to take your Raptor camp instead of the red buff, but if you start red, if you start blue, I mean, he tried to just navigate to that red buff, use that smite for a bit of health, and it wasn't enough just because you fall so low in the jungle now as Jarvan. It's why you see more level 2 ganks coming through, because the uncleansable flag and drag, still very strong at level 2, but the jungling, not the best.
No, and Trailblazer is going to make it a bit easier, but curious to see if Insect wants to pressure some of the lanes early. Gamtee actually pinging down for the ward, I think, that Royal put down, so maybe going to go for the bottom lane. But Nami keeping up in CS, Tail looking just fine as well. They were pushing him in fairly aggressively, but I think realizing that there might be someone coming, but Zero actually scouting the brush with his lantern. He thinks Huey's the one down here.
Huey definitely hasn't paid any attention to the bottom lane yet. Just kind of looking over the first 4 minutes, Gamtee have a couple of wins. We've already noted the fact that the level 2 has helped in the trades for Jinx Janna against this Thresh Lucian lane, but one of the more interesting things to talk about is that whenever we've seen Trundle, and Flandre's played this champion, other top laners have picked up the Trundle, in this Maokai lineup, in this matchup especially, because you just scale to a point where you're able to trade with the Maokai and then just keep pushing. Insect's looking for a super aggressive gank, but it's not Shaco or Rek'Sai this time, so a little bit too aggressive coming through. But for Trundle, the reason why you see him in a lane swap is that he's really good at jungling, but we might see an engage.
Yeah, going to come back down again. They actually are going to move in. Lantern comes through. Sync Dream dodges the piercing life, but first blood goes to Lucian.
A very creative gank coming through. Zero's so on point with the Death Sentence and the use of the Dark Passage. And finally, Starhorn Royal Club have an advantage to start this game. They need it.
Yeah, they pick up first blood. It's probably on the member they needed to here as well. Name going a bit more aggressive on the Lucian as Cola. Back in the top side, keeping on CS, and Royal going to keep that aggression going. 5.5 minutes and they're onto the Dragon.
This is maybe the first time we've said it all series, but getting a pick and then getting an objective is finally the point of call for Starhorn Royal Club. 5 minutes into the third game, 2-0 down. Not ideal words to say, but this should be their first Dragon.
Insect has a sweeper as well, nice and aggressively. So Dragon does go down. Lucian actually the one to get the last hit. Here is Cola continuing to farm away. Pressuring Let Me a little bit as Korn goes back to base there as well, but not quite having a CS lead. They're not able to get aggressive on the Maokai.
Not able to get aggressive on the Maokai. I mean, Tiamat is really needed for Trundle for laning. Does no lane control. Could look to freeze it here because, of course, his only way to push the wave is to auto-attack and use that chomp. It's the reason why we see Trundle in a lane swap is that he has such a great jungle follow. He just auto-attack chomps with the Doran Blade. Sustains very well because, of course, the Emperor's Divide, sorry, the passive coming through is just really good at keeping him sustainable in the jungle follow. Of course, Emperor's Divide is Azia's ultimate, but it's a crazy name like that. I overextended for that one, but much better at entering lane after Tiamat. In this case, though, keeping up farm happily.
Yeah, keeps him just safe there as well. Gets a little lifesteal off the bite as well. So some cute stuff here for Trundle. Definitely was back in the day one of a relatively popular and very safe jungler, but we're in standard lanes here. I think that's what Royal wanted. I mean, Korn here in the matchup right now, looking just fine behind actually against the Azir, who's still showing some decent early game prowess, I have to say. It's just the range of those auto attacks really, really long.
Yeah, we learned more and more about the LeBlanc versus Azir matchup as we saw it so often in the first 3-4 weeks of the LPL. Initially, we were a bit linear and thought, okay, Azir, one way he struggles is gap close. If you get onto him aggressively, burst damage, he can't deal with those situations. He always wins in trades against, for example, melee opponents, which you don't see a lot as the Azir Xerath matchup, for example. Xiaohu going in aggressive.
Great trade there. Ulti comes in as well, but not quite the angle he might have wanted. Does get the passive there as well as Huey walks in, and that will force Korn away, but maybe not the kill he was hoping for, but with the cleanse, probably not getting it anyway.
A surprisingly good burst trade in that particular example, but one of the reasons why it's actually a pretty good lane for Azir is that whenever you get in Mimic, in distortion range, you often get punished by 1-2 Sand Soldiers. You take trades like this, which keep you off the minion wave, but Zero's here.
Yeah, he's going in. Nice hook there as well, but insta-clench from Xiaohu keeps him safe, but Zero on the thresh, starting to make plays already.
But man, what a clutch use of the summoner spell Cleanse. Sometimes we see Cleanse and then the mid laner never gets to use it, it ends up being a dead summoner. But literally, that was the only summoner spell in the whole of the lead that could have kept Xiaohu alive. He didn't have Emperor's Divide even for any sort of disengage. He would have been dead if not for Cleanse.
I mean, he could have flashed, but didn't want to there. Now gets locked up again. Korn going to dive back in, but out of mana on the LeBlanc, so both mid laners trade aggressively. They might both have to go back to base now.
I mean, he would have had to very preemptively flash, because remember, the Death Sentence did register, but had the Cleanse to just shrug it off, keeps the flash, so can even now continue to be super aggressive in the mid lane. Man, I mean, you don't normally see summoner spells that clutch. You know, sometimes Ignite picks up kills they wouldn't have otherwise. But that was a clutch cleanse.
That was sick there from Xiaohu, and returns to the mid lane with the blue buff now as well. Korn in a similar position, I believe. I think he got the blue, but even down the bottom, Zero has returned. Name's now level 6. Both 80 carries with a BF sword, but Royal the ones pushing in the Jinx lane.
But Jinx is keeping up in farm competitively. You definitely say the earlier item timing and power spikes usually are on the Lucian, who can trade very well, especially now that he has the BF sword for those big piercing light trades. But if Jinx Janna is able to stay competitive, a hyper carry with the Queen of Disengage, you'll take that if you're Gamtee.
You will, and Janna, of course, quite a passive support as well, so a strong lane for Gamtee coming through. You can see they're trying to zone Name getting aggressive. Doesn't dodge that one, though. Zero, though, going to try and line something up. The culling comes through. Zero missing the hook there. Now the Tornado going to come back in, and the trade damage there, very well played by Gamtee.
Yeah, one-sided trade damage, too. Name just misfiring on all his abilities. Zero not hitting that Death Sentence. And a very happy trade coming through. No sustain this lane for either.
Oh, Name just gets over the chompers before they arm. So clutch play there on the dash, but can't be this aggressive, you have to think. It's a little too much as Insect comes to visit the mid lane, had his ultimate, didn't use it but forced Xiaohu away. I mean, both mid laners have spent so long here as Nami gets exhausted down the bottom, but Tail getting low there. Nami going to line up the piercing light, but doesn't have enough mana. Will just have to be content with taking turret damage.
Singstream actually almost positioned very poorly there. Was actually standing in between himself and Tail, so the piercing light would have been enough to take down the Jinx, but uses the Monsoon for sustain. Might be able to stay in lane a little bit longer. Yep, he's actually topped up over half health, so maybe continue to lane.
Insect wanting to dive, but Huey in the area means he has to back away. Dragon back in a minute 30. Both teams need to get their shops in right now, and Royals bottom lane, they're going to get the first backs here. Korn's already backed as well. He's got the Morellonomicon. Xiaohu completes his as well. Got the Sork shoes and building in towards the Athenes. We're about to have another big team fight, Papa Smoothie, because Royal are going to look for their second dragon.
And Cola is looking for the latest shop I've seen out of a top laner in many metas. Happy to hold on to 90 CS. I believe it was around 2,800 gold. Goes back and buys a straight Tiamat. Suddenly laning going to be much easier to navigate. He's going to have more options, because as of now, before the Tiamat, could only choose to be pushed in or freeze. Now he can do whatever he wants. Push out the lane, hold it, freeze. He has many options now as Trundle.
He does indeed, as Name down the bottom does get some hits onto the cannon creep. Huey trying to force something here, but just Tail going to take some trade damage instead. Dragon back up. 35 seconds now as the mid laners return to their homes there as well. See Korn looking for Azir maybe in transition. Name ultis again here just to force Gamtee out. And Sync Dream, no Monsoon this time. Can't really reset for a bit of extra health.
Sync Dream has no mana, and Zero's just trying to stop the backs. They want to just register this second dragon. Poor back timings, you have to say, for Gamtee. Maybe overstayed. I think both teams just looking for a pick to try and stop the backs and get that dragon.
Yeah, it's just the earlier game power coming through for Lucian that's sort of helping them here. And Jinx, fine with the BF sword in lane, especially as Xiaohu going to go in. Korn distorts back away, but Xiaohu's still going in, getting the auto attacks down. Good damage moving in. That's not a mimic, actually. Xiaohu picking wonderfully and almost taking him out solo. Insects down the bottom getting damage onto the turrets, but Gamtee forced them away.
Yeah, Xiaohu actually stopped a second back attempt from LeBlanc, so now we're seeing the bot lane and the mid mid lane respectively back for both teams. If Starhorn Royal Club can still pick up this dragon, that'd be a big win for them, as so far Azir seems rooted to clearing this mid lane.
Yeah, he's going to stick there. Royal are on top of their second dragon, so look to take it away. Huey over at his wolf camp with Azir backing probably means it's going to go to Royal. Ulti does come down just to confirm a bit of vision, but the second dragon will go to Royal.
They definitely have an exact timer for that one, but objective snowballs have consistently been the main cause of these victories we've seen in previous games, Space Time. Getting on top of that dragon, forcing fights, or just getting any semblance of a pick with an exact timer has been a big win condition for teams. Starhorn Royal Club, one of the big things to actually take into account is actually the second and fourth dragons will be very relevant in this game, just because we've seen multiple games with Trundles where they get, say, Ravenous Hydra into 20, 30, 40% cooldown reduction. They get so damn tanky that the likes of Maokai can't split push against them. And they just have enough cooldown reduction that, again, they're doing huge amounts of regular damage. The Chomp, of course, doing the Chomp or Bite, I forget the exact name, doing extra damage to turrets means that they can take turrets under the nose of Let Me. We're seeing a huge trade in bot.
Yeah, trouble in paradise there. Down as Tail goes down. Insect with a nice gank. They gets the first one. Zero missing the hook means that Sync Dream will live. But that tower now under threat as well. And we talked about the Royal bottom lane with proactive champions. Insect even looking down there as well. This is the recipe for Royal. Pick safe laners, pick a proactive bottom lane, and just get Insect to find a good way into camp.
And Gamtee have already shown that this is the way forward. Get those early objective snowballs going. And Name finding the Lucian much more comfortable laning phase than he had in games 1 and 2. Suddenly Gamtee on the back foot. Not a massive gold lead, but a dragon and 2 turrets is a lot of objectives for Gamtee to make up in the mid game.
Yeah, this is how it starts for Royal, so they have to keep up the good work here. Gamtee, if they can hold on, especially if they can find some turret kills potentially in rotation and open up the map, we'll have plenty of play left here. But right now it could be trouble. It's actually Let Me getting aggressed on potentially by Kohler and Cornwell looking for a dive. Zero even coming up now as well. Name's going to back away. He'll spend some of his gold, but Korn gives up on the dive here as well. We might even just have a rotation. Insect, in fact, hanging out in the mid lane.
Yeah, surprisingly, Lucian isn't top lane to try and take down another turret. With Thresh positioned there, I thought it would just be a 4-man stack to try and take down Maokai's turret. Won't be confirmed at this point. Tails just picking up farm. Starhorn Royal Club understanding to get as many advantages as possible now. Things get better for them in the late game, but pile on those advantages when all the momentum, all the wind is in your sails.
Yeah, just apply pressure. That's how Gamtee have won their last 2 games. So we kind of talked about it in the draft. Royal trying to do a Gamtee impression here in this 3rd game at least. Korn does get his blue buff, almost level 11, so going to have an extra rank of the ultimate for extra damage on all the abilities coming through with the Mimic. IE almost done for Name there as well, so has the quick cloak pickaxe and the BF sword. With the Berserker Greaves, Name especially loves his quick boots too. Hydra done up for Kohler again. It's not a big lead, but Royal have the tools they need to press themselves forward.
Royal just have the superior late game options just because, as I've mentioned multiple times, eventually this split push will be unsustainable. Let Me will not be able to deal with Kohler, and he will take massive objectives under the nose of the only member with a teleport on Gamtee, Let Me. So they need to push themselves, Gamtee, and get advantages now, and that's why you see this turret already at half health.
2v3 though, actually the turret aggro is still onto Huey. Insect uses the ultimate, but the tower goes down. Insect gets locked up as well, trying to run away, but there are too many slows here. Good cancel of the ultimate, but he does go down, and Name, not enough manpower, can't quite fight. And
awkwardly, Azir is able to rotate at the same time as LeBlanc, and they can't punish him. Do they have the damage to take down this
They're
Maokai?
going to try here. Kohler's used his ulti. Let Me going to get a lot of that reduced, but the ultimate, they're keeping Maokai safe, and yeah, not enough damage
when
yet.
LeBlanc was looking for the turret dive, I was like, that's already a righteous glory Maokai. You're not going to have the damage to turret dive unless he uses the Vengeful Maelstrom offensively, so happily lives through that dive. Gamtee, the one thing that's working in their favor is that Xiao is actually out-trading Korn, so Azir has more lane presence and more roaming presence than a LeBlanc. So LeBlanc, in terms of actually taking over the early game, like we saw Xiao do in game 1, has been a non-factor this game.
I mean, Xiao in general has just taken over all 3 games, it feels like. Even in this one where Gamtee do have a slight deficit they're fighting back from here. Xiaohu's mid lane performances have been wonderful all series long, so look to see if he can make that happen again. Tail now with his Infinity Edge, maybe not struggling as much as we thought there. Name still working on his as we look to the next dragon. A minute 45 away, still some time for these teams to get some gold and then go back and spend before the next big objective.
Gamtee need to definitely get on the objective counter right now before they just have that situation where how do you deal with the fact that Trundle's going to keep split pushing? Your team fight's strong, but it's all about kiting back. You don't have engage. When there's this situation where Trundle's taking, say, an inner turret, they don't have the engage to force a fight, barring an amazing or just miracle initiate from Xiaohu. So not having hard engage and losing in split push is a strategic hole that Gamtee can't necessarily comp around unless they start to get objectives right now.
And Gamtee's trying to rotate here for a mid turret with the presence that Xiaohu has, but the rest of Royal are answering. It's 4v4 in the mid lane, and with Trundle and Maokai in the top still there. Not ready to teleport is Let Me. Kohler actually has the advantage there, but does have to be careful to not get it cancelled. Dragon back up soon as well. Royal going to look to take their third away.
Yeah, Maokai just clearing waves happily against Kohler on the top. You can see on this minimap they're angling around this inner turret, but even though the outer turret, but even though LeBlanc is behind, Tail still has to respect the damage. Only level 9, low base stats, no semblance of magic resist on this Jinx. They can't get any damage down this turret, and more time to farm is more time for Star Royal Cup to pile advantages over to both Name and Kohler.
Yeah, Name pushing down the waves, checks the brush as well, knows he's in a bit of a precarious looking situation. Huey will start up the Scuttlecrabber. Insect was in the area, didn't want to check, but Huey doesn't want to either, thinks it's too risky. Name has pushed the wave in down the bottom side as well. Dragon back in almost 10 seconds. It's Royal's time to try and get it, and Huey might be caught out.
Huey's going to be enclosed on by a couple of members that know gets to back away with the Janna, picking him up for movement speed. 3 seconds till Dragon.
That hook was good. Xiaohu though with the cleanse comes in. Insect gets forced back by the Empress of Eye, but dives in aggressively. Insect might go low there. Does look to go down, and Xiaohu gets the kill on the tanks. Pretty strong in the front line here for Gamtee. Korn comes in with the burst. Kohler's joined in there as well. But one man down. Royal going to struggle now.
And Xiaohu with both his summons was so smart to open up distance, doing damage and getting away from the line of fire. Gamtee have the 5v4 advantage, and crucially, no smite on top lane, but there's a re-engage.
Here it's another pick, but gets picked himself. Name still trying to kite back with Tail going offensive in the front line. Splashes forward on the Jinx. Kohler not that tanky, going to go in. Does good damage there in an AoE, but Name's forced back away as well. That's 3 kills overall going through to Gamtee, and they'll pick up their first Dragon.
So crucial that they are the ones to get this Dragon to stop the objective snowball. Instead, just too aggressive, not respecting the cleanse flash that Xiaohu had available. Need to communicate those summoner timings, because it feels like those summoner timings need to be respected to the point where you don't initiate a team fight unless you blow one of those defensive summoners from the control mage Azir.
And Royal finally had some item timings coming through. Name with his Infinity Edge. Trundle decently strong with his Hydra. And even the needlessly large up for Korn. Don't know how much of this they had before the last fight, but they took off far too much there. And they're going to try and get a pick onto Xiaohu. No summoners this time. Might mean he can get it. Name flashing aggressively for it. Does Lantern out instead, but they'll at least try and push down a turret.
Yeah, crucially, the chain went wide from Korn. Needs to be hitting those skill shots after losing lane, which you have to say no kill involvement, and back behind in CC against a control mage like Azir. That's definitely below par LeBlanc play. If you're going to pick LeBlanc on patch 5.6, you need to win lane and start impacting other lanes, because there will be a time when the front line especially, and honestly it could be now, is too tanky for Korn to be relevant.
I mean, I feel like Royal felt trapped into the LeBlanc pick, honestly. Korn's LeBlanc is fine, don't get me wrong, but I think they realized they have to keep it away from Xiaohu, but didn't have any other choice but to first pick it. And
why is Azir available then? How could Azir be the 5th pick despite the fact that teams have been, I mean, the first game between EG and IG, your semi-final of the playoffs, IG first picked Azir blind. That shows just the prominence of Azir, and Xiaohu is one of the most noted Azir players in the league.
I mean, the easy answer is that there are only 6 bans, Papa Smithy. You can't ban everything. Lulu was a priority here. There were plenty of other champions that they had to go around. Korn, as far as I can remember, doesn't play Azir, but needed to pick LeBlanc away. It's an awkward spot, I agree. It might be a champion pool thing for Korn, but Let Me potentially caught out now as well. Korn going to get the chain down as well. Name getting aggressive, but just going to stand here and fight. Does dash away. Let Me will take a while to die, but should go down eventually. Who's going to get the kill, though? It looks to be Name. Let Me fighting back, but Lucian does get the kill.
Look at the mini-map, though, Page Time. They're straight on Baron.
Yeah, that's Insect. Gonna look in, try and steal it away. Kohler will rotate in there as well.
5,000 health.
Yeah, 2v4 right now. Baron getting very low.
They need to finish it.
Oh, Xiaohu disengages them. The Insect trying to dive in, but Huey takes it away with Consume and Smite, and that's not a trade that Gamtee Royal wanted.
There is no way to keep Xiaohu out of the LPL. He's playing out of his mind this series. The Emperor's Divide, so smart the usage. Looks like Star Royal Cup will rotate for an outer mid turret, but that's the minimum.
Good ulti block there by Zero as well. Might have killed Name if it had hit him, but that is the minimum there. Gamtee return to their wave. Going to power up their minions when they come through as well. And Royal, who had control of this game for the first 10 minutes or so, suddenly gone back to even, which is not where you want to be against this Gamtee lineup.
That was a 20-minute Baron. It was basically on spawn while Let Me was being caught. Don't know if that was a strategic call. You don't normally see top laners overextending for a free Baron at 20 minutes, but that was the result. And they adapted well, rotated well, and that's been a consistent story about Gamtee this series.
Yeah, they get the turret in the counter push here as well. Might even make it 2. Tail rips through structures with the Blood Boil and the minigun, and it's gone.
There's no wave clear at all on Starhorn Royal Club's team lineup. And hell, even if you had decent wave clear, these are baroned up minions at 22 minutes. They haven't hit item timings to be able to kill these minion waves. And there's going to be more turrets coming. That's just the start. They're already going towards top. And they can send just Azir to the mid lane. And good luck pushing off an Azir with baroned up minions.
I mean, if Zero can pick him up, they might be able to get it done. But a 4th turret now for Gamtee as they take the top outer. They're still pushing as well, and Xiaohu's time to set up his Sand Soldier is going to wave clear for days.
Let's see the strength of the Baron Duff minions with 2 members. It's Maokai and Azir, both pretty strong. Gamtee probably have to get engaged on Starhorn Royal Cup. They cannot let this happen.
Good pick for Korn. Xiaohu gets caught out. Lucian gets the kill onto him. We might have a base race on our hands. Gamtee not letting up, but Royal looks like they have to back off. And Gamtee, they've won the trade. The Jinx ulti going wide. Just going to try and cancel it back. Nails Korn though, and it's a base race.
It is a base race, but Baron buff minions. It's an easy trade for me. They're going to break the base first. And Gamtee looking good.
Yeah, it's so hard to race Jinx and Nunu, let alone the Janna as well. Royal get the inhib, realize they have to back away, but it might be too late. Gamtee on top of the first Nexus star, going to look to take it out. Name so far back and can't join in yet. Kola going to come in there, but Gamtee committed in. Kola just gets ulted away by Janna. 2 turrets for the Nexus going to be exposed soon. Name getting chased out by Let Me as well. And there's the other turret going through. The teleport going to land. Huey uses his ultimate, and Gamtee's tail flashes over, gets aggressed on by Insect, is going to look to go down. Can they take him out? They can, but the Nexus is so low. Royal trying to defend. Let Me, the last one left allowed. They'll CC him away though. That's just enough. Yes, it is.
That is absolutely insane. It lives on 300 health, the Nexus. Base and tatters, but the end result, they get the inner turret, the mid turret. So they get the mid inhibitor. That stops the push coming through. Starhorn Royal Club need to wave clear for days. Interesting to see if Gamtee try to reset or if they're trying to send multiple members to finish off this Nexus.
Well, it started okay for Royal. A good pick finally onto the Azir Vicon meant that Royal could actually get some work done, but seriously, racing Jinx Nunu Janna with a Baron buff was a ballsy move by Royal. And I don't know if the trade paid off per se, but they are still in this game.
I don't think it paid off, but man, it was so close. That was almost their LPL livelihood over. They would have been straight into the LSPL. The roster would have been in tatters. Would these 5 players, star players in their own rights, stay with the organization into the LSPL? It's a question we do not know the answer to. We don't have to really ruminate on that just yet as the game continues, but Gamtee have so many advantages. A 1-loss team fight, and they'll win this game.
Sync Dream coming in. Zero getting caught, though. Good tornado. Now Xiaohu going to come in. Zero is dead. And Gamtee going to get themselves a dragon. Possibly, though, they might not care. They might just keep pushing.
I mean, might as well keep pushing. It's been working so far. Suddenly, the Phantom Dancer and Infinity Edge is enough items for Tail in terms of doing turret damage. We can see the camp in bottom. They need to respect this brush.
Yep, good check, though, by Tail with the zap. Wards go down there as well, and Gamtee absolutely respect the brush. I'm going to keep sieging. 4v5 right now. If they can find a pick, maybe, but it's, again, the same issue. Korn going to dive in there for a bit of poke damage, but it's mostly on the front line. Xiaohu tanking turrets there as well, maybe too aggressive, and Gamtee, they will back away.
Credit to Starhorn Royal Cup. They've done a good job of pushing out this top lane minions. The super minions won't be pushing into the base for another 30 seconds or so. So Gamtee need to back away and just pick up their second dragon, which at this point is probably the smallest of advantages.
Trundle's coming into Flango. This is too aggressive. Insect going into Stealer, but it does go over to Nunu. But Kola might have caught them. Korn diving onto Xiaohu. They zoned him out of the way, but they need to get on top of Tail. Zero trying to go in, but Name eats the Emperor's Divide. Now the Gamtee will close the trap. Xiaohu still alive. There's Insects trying to dive in, but it's a double kill with Jinx. Make it a triple. Might even be a quadra for what looks to be Gamtee's last fight of the series.
Starhorn Royal Cup used everything to lock down Xiaohu. He lives on the minimum of health, but why is Tail able to free hit in minigun form with Blood Boil riding? Took down all the members of Starhorn Royal Club. That inhibitor is not going to respawn anytime soon. This is the game.
Yeah, this is game. Huey going to tank the turret. Tail going to move in to finish what he started in the bottom side. And Gamtee, in dramatic fashion, 3-0 Starhorn Royal Club and kick them down into the LSPL.
One of the biggest upsets of recent time. You can see the Starhorn Royal Cup members, Name on your screen, devastated by this result. It is crazy to me that a team with 4 members who were recently at the World Finals are going to be relegated to the LSPL. But Steph, take a bow, Gamtee. An excellent series from you. Starhorn, serious questions about their drafting, their play and team fighting even in that last game. As Teo ran wild, quadra kill to go back to the LPL.
Gamtee looks strong coming back into the LPL. They were powering up towards the end of the season, but this promotion tournament has been a display of power from this team. So we're already going to mix things up. We've got 2 new teams joining. We've rejoined M3 and Gamtee back as our LPL teams from this split back into the summer. We're all going to have to fight themselves in the LPL, and I said it already, for Name to drop from being the player in China domestically, for dominating every LPL final, winning at least half of them, to not making the playoffs, let alone the final, to now go into the LSPL. It's heartbreak for Royal and their fans, but Gamtee, they deserve all the praise we've thrown at them.
And Gamtee, when they finally got their first victory in the LPL, said the one thing we want to be remembered for is not as the teams with the pandas on their jersey, and they're certainly not going to be remembered for that. In fact, they're going to be back to make a big reintroduction to the league in the summer split. Xiaohu, from week 1, will be a big improvement with this team. They lost a lot of those games at the start of the season, but this 5-man unit with Huey reintroduced to the lineup late into the season has real promise as an all-Chinese lineup to make waves in the summer split.
I respectfully disagree. They will now also be remembered for the Panda jerseys, but amazing play is their hallmark for their promotion as well. Congratulations to Gamtee for making it back in, but of course we do have another playoff to play here as well. A massive semi-final is coming up in 2.5 hours. That's about 7 p.m. local time back on this stream as LGD take on Snake. But for myself and Papa Smithy, we are done for Summer Promo. We'll see you next split of the LPL.